Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Larissa and I crochet plushies. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back and thank you for being here. This week's video is a tutorial on how to crochet these super cute flower crown bunnies with a little dress. I designed this pattern a few months back, but I had been waiting until I started a YouTube channel to film the tutorial for you guys, so I'm so glad I'm finally able to make this video happen. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. These are all the stitches and terms that I use in this tutorial. The materials you'll need are yarn. I used Scarly Teddy Bakery, which is my own brand. I used cream for the bunny and pink for the dress, and then 7 different colors for the 7 different flowers, but you can do however many colors you would like. You will also need a thinner yarn to embroider the nose. I used size 3 chenille yarn in light pink, but you can also use embroidery thread. Then you will need scissors, a stitch marker, safety eyes in 12mm if you are using size 6 yarn, stuffing, a darning needle, a 5mm crochet hook, and optional, you can use hot glue to glue the flowers, or you can just sew them on. We'll start off by making the head, so we'll make a magic circle. If you are not familiar with making magic circles, then you can slow down this part where I'm making it right here and follow along to what I'm doing. Alternatively, you can also do the chain 2 method by making 2 chains and then crocheting your 8 single crochets into the first chain that you made. But here I'm just making the magic circle and then crocheting 8 single crochets into the magic circle. And for the entirety of the bunny's body, we are using cream yarn. As you can see, I am tugging the magic circle a little bit more closed every time after each single crochet, and I just do this while I'm working with plush yarn so that there's a lesser chance that the yarn will get caught towards the end, and that guarantees that I'll have a secure magic circle every single time. Now for round 2, I am just making an increase in every single stitch all the way around. So that is 2 single crochets in each stitch, totaling to 16 stitches total at the end of the round. And you want to make sure to add your stitch marker at the beginning of every round, just so you don't lose track. For round 3, we are going to be making 1 single crochet and then following that up with an increase in the next stitch and then repeating that 8 times for a total of 24 stitches. For round 4, we are going to be making 3 single crochets and then an increase in the next stitch 6 times all the way around for a total of 30 stitches. Now for round 5, we are going to be making 4 single crochets and then an increase in the next stitch 6 times around for a total of 36 stitches. I apologize for the work sometimes getting a little bit out of frame. I'm standing up while filming this and the setup is super uncomfortable on my back, so I find it really difficult to hold still. Don't worry though, I will be working on getting a new and more comfortable setup for my future tutorials. We have now reached the part where we are just making 36 single crochets all the way around from rows 6 to 11. So that's a total of 6 rounds of single crocheting all the way around. And I will come back to you guys at the end of round 11. Now that we have finished our 6 rounds of single crochets all the way around, we are going to be making round 12, which is 4 single crochets and then a decrease, and do that 6 times around for a total of 30 stitches. For round 13, we are going to be making 3 single crochets and then a decrease and doing that 6 times around for a total of 24 stitches. And now we are at the last round of the head, which is round 14. Here we will be making 2 single crochets and a decrease 6 times around for a total of 18 stitches. Now that we have finished all the rounds of the head, I like to make a slip stitch into the next stitch just to keep it nice and secure, and then cut the yarn without leaving a yarn tail, and then fastening off by pulling the hook through the yarn like so. Now it's time to add your safety eyes. I'm just counting down to rows 9 and 10, and you just want to add your eyes between those rows. about 7 to 8 stitches apart. You want to make sure that you are securing the backs on as well. After fastening the eyes on, we want to move on to crocheting the ears. I will embroider the nose and stuff the head later on. Now it's time to make 2 of the ears, so we'll start off by making the first ear with a magic ring and crocheting 8 single crochets into the magic ring. And for the second round, we want to make an increase in every stitch around for a total of 16 stitches. For round 3, we will be making 3 single crochets and then an increase, and doing that 4 times around for a total of 20 stitches. For the next 4 rounds, we will be making single crochets all the way around from rows 4 to 7, so I will come back to you at the end of round 7. Now that we have finished round 7, we will be starting round 8 by making 8 single crochets and then a decrease, and then repeat that again for a total of 18 stitches. And for the next 3 rounds, from round 9 to 11, we will be single crocheting all the way around, and I will come back to you at the end of round 11. Now that we have finished round 11, we will be starting round 12 by making 7 single crochets and then a decrease, and then doing that again for a total of 16 stitches. And for the next 2 rounds, from round 13 to 14, we will be single crocheting all the way around, and I'll come back to you at the end of round 14. Now that we have finished round 14, we will be starting round 15 by making 6 single crochets and then decreasing, and repeat again for a total of 14 stitches. For round 16, we will be single crocheting all the way around. round 17, we will be making 5 single crochets and then a decrease 2 times over for a total of 12 stitches. Round 18 is single crocheting all the way around. Round 19 is 4 single crochets and then a decrease 2 times over for a total of 10 stitches. And for round 20, which is our last round, we will just be single crocheting all the way around. Now that we have finished our first ear, we want to fasten off and cut the yarn, leaving a tail for sewing. Now that we have finished the first ear, we need to repeat the ear process all over again to make the second ear, and I will come back to you guys when I've finished the second ear. Now that we have made both of the ears, it's time to move on to the legs and body. Now we are making the first leg, starting off with 6 single crochets in a magic circle. For round 2, we are making 6 increases all the way around for a total of 12 stitches. Now from rounds 3 to 6, we are just going to be single crocheting all the way around for a total of 4 rounds, and I will come back to you at the end of round 6. Now that we are at the end of round 6, for the first leg we will cut the yarn and fasten off, but we need to repeat these steps from rounds 1 to 6 again for the second leg, and do not fasten off and cut the yarn for the second leg. I will come back to you at the end of round 6 for the second leg. Now that we have finished the second leg, we want to continue to round 7 by making 1 chain and then single crocheting into any of the stitches on row 6 of the first leg to connect both of the legs together. And you want to make sure you're adding a stitch marker here so that you don't forget where you've started. Then you want to continue with 11 single crochets around the first leg and then making another single crochet into the chain, and then following that by completing 12 single crochets around the second leg and then a single crochet on the other side of the chain to finish off the 7th round. This next tip I'm about to share is entirely optional. When it's time to crochet into the chain, I like to make a decrease of sorts by yarning into the nearest stitch to the right of the chain and then crocheting into the chain just to prevent any gaps that can occur while starting the body. I also like to do the same thing after crocheting into the chain by making another decrease into the stitch to the right of the stitch next to the chain and then the stitch next to the chain in the second leg. These aren't real decreases that will affect your final stitch count, since the other stitches that you should be crocheting into to make the decrease are on the other side of the leg and should already have been worked into or will be worked into again later. For round 8, we will be making 6 single crochets and then an increase, followed by 5 single crochets and an increase, and then another 6 single crochets and increase, and then another 5 single crochets and increase. And that should lead to a total stitch count of 30. Now for the next 4 rounds, from rounds 9 to 12, we will just be single crocheting all the way around, and I'll come back to you guys at the end of round 12. Now that we have just finished round 12, moving on to round 13, we will be doing 8 single crochets and then a decrease and repeating that 3 times for a total of 27 stitches. Round 14 will just be single crocheting all the way around. Round 15 is 7 single crochets and a decrease times 3 for a total of 24 stitches. For round 16, we will just be single crocheting all the way around. And our last round, which is round 17, will be 2 single crochets and then a decrease times 6 for a total of 18 stitches. Now that we're at the end of the body, I like to slip stitch into the next stitch and then fasten off and cut the yarn, leaving a long tail for sewing to the head. Now we are making the last part of the body, which is the arms. So start off by making 6 single crochets into a magic ring. Round 2 will be 2 single crochets and then an increase times 2 for a total of 8 stitches. Now for the next 6 rounds, from rounds 3 to 8, we will be single crocheting all the way around, so I'll come back to you at the end of round 8. We are now at the end of round 8 and we have finished the first arm, so just cut the yarn, leaving a tail for sewing to the body, and then fasten off and repeat again to make the second arm. And now we should have 2 little bunny arms just like this. We have now made all the parts of the bunny and it's time to stuff and sew them together. You want to firmly stuff the head and the body, making sure you're also stuffing the legs, and lightly stuff the arms, and make sure to not stuff the ears. We will start off by sewing the arms to the body. This is what it should look like at this point. And now it's time to sew the head to the body. This is what it should look like with the head sewn on. And now it's time to sew the ears anywhere between rounds 4 to 6 of the head, depending on how you like it. And this is what your bunny should look like, all sewn together. Now it is time to embroider the nose. So I like to take size 3 chenille yarn and then just go through the middle 2 stitches here between the eyes, and then also go a stitch under to make the little tip of the nose or the little mouth, or however you call it, I'm not sure, but I like to do it like this, and then repeat sewing over the top of the nose across the 2 stitches a few more times. I like to make the little vertical stitch only once. So then just sew through a few more times to your likeness until the nose is defined how you want. And you can also use embroidery thread as an alternative, or whatever yarn that you have. And this is what it should look like in the end. Now it's time to make the dress. So taking pink yarn, we want to make a slip knot and then chain 27. once we've made all the chains, we want to single crochet into the first chain to make a little circle. You also want to add your stitch marker here. Before continuing on any farther, I'd recommend you try this on your bunny and make sure it fits nice and snug. I made 27 chains instead of 30 because I wanted it to cinch in a little bit so it wouldn't fall off, but if you want it a bit looser or tighter, you can adjust the amount of chains you do as you please. And now it's time to single crochet all the way around to make a total of 27 single crochets. For round 2, we will be working in the front loop only of the first round, and we will be making 1 double crochet into the first stitch and then a double crochet increase into the second stitch and repeating that all the way around. Since 27 is an odd number, we will be ending on a double crochet, but it will vary depending on how many chains you decided to do at the start. Now for the third and final round, we will be working in both loops this time, but repeating the same process of double crocheting and then double crochet increasing around the entirety of the skirt. Now that we've finished the skirt, it's time to slip stitch into the next stitch and then cut and fasten off the yarn. No need to leave a tail, and make sure to weave in your ends. And this is what the skirt should look like on at this point. Now it's time to make the bib portion of the dress, so take your pink yarn and attach it to the unworked side of the chain at the top of your skirt, and then 7 single crochet across the top of the skirt. If you feel like 7 single crochets is a bit too small for your liking, then you can add 1 or 2 more single crochets. It's completely up to personal preference. Once you have made your 7, 8, or 9 single crochets, you want to make 1 chain and then turn your work, and then make another 7, 8, or 9 single crochets, depending on how many you wanted to make for your bib. And then you want to repeat that process 3 or 4 times, depending on how big you would want the bib piece to be. You can also try this dress on your bunny throughout the process to see how much you would like to build up the bib. Now it is time to make the straps for the dress. So at this point, you should have the dress on your bunny. Make sure that the bib is the right size, and then continue using the yarn from when you made the bib and make 14 chains. This may vary depending on the size of your bunny and where you are attaching the straps, but I like to do a crisscross on the back. So I've found that 14 chains works for me. I also like to have it a little bit tighter just so that it looks a bit more secure. And once I've tested that the chains is enough for me, I like to slip stitch into the backside of the unworked chains from your skirt. And then fasten off the yarn and weave in your ends. And then we want to repeat this process on the other side, except we will have to attach the yarn. So I just like to do this by making a little knot and then continue with 14 chains again and attaching it to the back side of the skirt. And this is how your bunny's dress should look once it is all completed. Last but not least, it is now time to make the flowers. We need to make 7 flowers. So taking your yarn, you want to make a magic circle, and then once you make the chain for the magic circle, you want to make another chain, and then into the first chain from the magic circle, you want to slip stitch, and then slip stitch into the magic circle again, and repeat this process 5 times for a total of 5 petals, and make sure that the magic circle is completely closed by the end of this. Once you've finished making the flower, you can fasten off and cut the yarn. If you are sewing the flowers on, then you should leave a tail, but for me, I am too lazy for that, so I will be hot gluing them on, so no need for me to leave a tail. You can make all 7 flowers in different colors like I did, or however you would like. There are 6 flowers for the crown and 1 for the bib. Now before sewing or gluing the flower crown, you want to place them down with darning needles to make sure that they are in the right position and how you would like them to look, which is what I'm doing right here. And now that I've added them all, I'm not happy with how it looks, so I'm just moving some around to make sure that they are sitting right and they all fit. If your flowers are too bunched up or too sparse, you might want to take some away or make a couple more, depending on how you would like it to look. I'm happy with how it looks, so now it's time for me to glue them on. I'm using a hot glue gun that wasn't able to reach the frame, but what I'm doing is taking out the flowers one by one, cutting the tails even shorter to make sure that there's no chance of them sticking out, and then adding glue to the back of the flowers off screen, and then attaching it straight to the head before the glue dries. If you are sewing your flowers on, make sure to do the same process, except instead of cutting the yarn and gluing, you want to sew the flowers one by one. And once the flower crown is done, it's time to attach the last flower onto the middle of the dress. And now the bunny is complete. This is how she should look. That is all for this week's video. I hope you guys liked the tutorial. Please tag me in any photos that you make using this design. I would love to see what you guys make. And if you have any questions or concerns, please leave them in the comments below and I will try my best to answer them. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. It would really help out my channel. And if you want to watch more crochet related content, you can subscribe and join my little family. Love you guys. Bye.